What if the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is a single assumption? What if the success you seek, the abundance you dream about, the relationship you long for, or the freedom you crave is not something you need to chase, but something you need to accept? Most people spend their lives waiting, waiting for a sign, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for proof that their dreams are possible. But there is a hidden power known to very few, a power that changes reality from the inside out. The moment you stop wishing and start assuming, everything begins to shift. Today, you will discover why your inner state is more powerful than any external condition, why the feeling of already having your desire is the secret key to transformation, and how a simple change in consciousness can set unseen forces into motion. So as you listen, set aside your doubts, release your worries, and open your mind to a new possibility. Because by the end of this message, you may realize that what you've been searching for has been within you all along. Let's begin. Every great transformation begins with a desire. Yet most people misunderstand what desire truly is. They see it as evidence that something is missing from their lives. They interpret their longing for success, abundance, health, love, or freedom as proof that these things are far away from them. Because they believe their desire is distant, they spend their days chasing it, hoping that one day it will arrive. But there is a completely different way to understand desire, one that changes everything. The very fact that you can imagine a better life, a greater achievement, or a fulfilled dream is significant. A desire does not appear randomly. It is not an accident. It is not a cruel reminder of what you cannot have. Instead, it is a glimpse into a possibility that already exists. Before anything can appear in the visible world, it must first exist in consciousness. Every invention, every accomplishment, every masterpiece, and every success was first experienced as an idea before it became a fact. The unseen always precedes the seen. Think about a seed. Within a tiny seed lies the complete blueprint of a mighty tree. You may not see the trunk, the branches, or the leaves when you hold the seed in your hand, but they are already contained within it. In the same way, every desire carries within itself the blueprint of its own fulfillment. The desire and its fulfillment are connected. One does not exist without the other. If the possibility did not already exist, the desire could never arise within you. This understanding changes your relationship with your dreams. Instead of viewing your desire as something that is absent, you begin to see it as something that is already present in a different form. It may not yet be visible to your physical senses, but it exists as a reality within consciousness. The moment you accept this idea, you stop fighting against your desire. You stop wondering whether it is possible. Instead, you begin asking a different question. How can I align myself with the reality that already exists? Most people spend years seeking proof before they believe. They want evidence first. They want guarantees. They want visible signs that their dream is coming true. But this approach keeps them trapped in doubt because they are constantly measuring their future against their current circumstances. They look around and see limitations, and then they conclude that their desire is impossible. Yet the greatest achievements in human history began when someone believed in a possibility before there was any evidence to support it. The hidden power lies in understanding that reality is shaped from the inside out. What you consistently accept as true within yourself eventually finds expression in the world around you. This is why your inner conversations, beliefs, and assumptions matter so much. They are not meaningless thoughts drifting through your mind. They are creative forces shaping your experience. Imagine that your deepest desire already exists as a completed reality. Imagine that it is not something you must create from nothing, but something you must become aware of. This shift may seem small, but it changes your entire mindset. Instead of struggling to make something happen, you begin to align with what is already possible. You move from effort to acceptance, from anxiety to trust, from doubt to conviction. When you understand that your desire is already a reality, patience becomes easier. You no longer panic when results do not appear immediately. A farmer does not dig up a seed every day to check whether it is growing. He trusts the process because he knows the seed contains the harvest. Likewise, when you recognize that your desire already contains its fulfillment, you stop constantly questioning whether it will happen. You begin to trust the unseen process unfolding beneath the surface. The greatest mistake people make is focusing entirely on appearances. They allow current circumstances to define what they believe is possible. But appearances are temporary. They are often reflections of past thoughts, past beliefs, and past assumptions. The future is not limited by the present unless you allow it to be. A new reality begins the moment you accept a new possibility within yourself. So, whenever a desire arises in your heart, do not treat it as a distant dream. Do not see it as evidence of lack. Instead, recognize it as an invitation to a greater reality. See it as proof that a new possibility has already entered your awareness. The desire itself is a message that fulfillment exists. Your task is not to force it into existence, but to align your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions with the reality it represents. For the moment you truly understand that your desire is already a reality, you stop chasing your future and begin living in harmony with it. And that is where transformation begins. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that fulfillment comes after manifestation. They think they will feel successful once success arrives, grateful once abundance appears, confident once they achieve their goals, or secure once their circumstances improve. As a result, they spend their lives waiting for the outer world to give them permission to experience the emotions they desire. Yet the hidden secret is that the process works in the opposite direction. The feeling comes first, and the physical expression follows. Every experience in life is accompanied by a state of feeling. When you receive good news, you feel relieved. When you achieve a goal, you feel satisfied. When you are loved, you feel valued. When you experience abundance, you feel secure. These feelings seem to arise because of external events, but there is a deeper truth. The feeling itself is a state of consciousness, and that state can be entered deliberately before any external evidence appears. Most people remain trapped because they continue to identify with the feeling of not having what they want. They desire wealth but feel poor. They desire success but feel inadequate. They desire love but feel lonely. They desire freedom but feel restricted. Even though they speak positively about their dreams, their dominant emotional state continues to reinforce the reality they are trying to escape. Their feelings silently declare that their desire is absent, and so the experience of absence continues. The key is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This means asking yourself a simple but powerful question. How would I feel if my desire were already a fact? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. If the dream were completely realized at this very moment, what emotions would naturally arise within you? Perhaps you would feel peaceful. Perhaps you would feel confident. Perhaps you would feel grateful, excited, or free. Whatever the emotion may be, that feeling becomes your target. This does not require pretending or forcing yourself to ignore reality. It is not about denying your circumstances. It is about choosing a new state of consciousness despite them. The outer world may show one thing, but your inner world can choose another. When you consistently occupy the feeling of fulfillment, you begin to think differently, speak differently, and respond differently to life. You are no longer operating from the state of someone who lacks. You are operating from the state of someone who already possesses. Consider how differently a fulfilled person moves through life compared to someone who feels deprived. A fulfilled person does not constantly worry about whether their desire will happen. They do not spend every day searching for proof. They do not obsess over every obstacle. Why? Because in their mind, the matter is already settled. There is a calm certainty that replaces anxiety. There is confidence where there was once fear. There is gratitude where there was once frustration. This shift in feeling is powerful because your emotional state influences every aspect of your experience. Your perception changes. Your decisions change. The opportunities you notice begin to change. The energy you bring into conversations changes. Even your expectations begin to shift. Without realizing it, you start acting in harmony with the reality you have accepted internally. Many people underestimate the power of feeling because it cannot be measured or seen. Yet feeling is often the language through which assumptions are impressed upon the deeper levels of the mind. A thought repeated without feeling may have little impact, but a thought combined with genuine emotion carries tremendous creative power. This is why merely repeating positive words is often ineffective if those words are accompanied by doubt, fear, or frustration. The feeling behind the thought is what gives it life. The challenge is persistence. It is easy to feel inspired for a few moments. It is easy to experience confidence when everything is going well. The real test comes when circumstances seem to contradict your desire. Can you remain faithful to the feeling of fulfillment even when there is no evidence? Can you choose gratitude before the result appears? Can you maintain confidence before the success arrives? This is where transformation occurs. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you strengthen a new identity. Gradually, it becomes more natural than the old state of lack. What once felt imaginary begins to feel real. What once felt distant begins to feel present. And as your inner state changes, your outer experience begins to reflect that change. The secret is simple yet profound. Stop waiting for reality to make you feel fulfilled. Feel fulfilled first. Enter the emotional state of the person you wish to become. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and remain loyal to it. For when the feeling becomes natural, the reality it represents cannot remain far behind. One of the most profound shifts a person can make is learning to live from the end rather than toward it. At first glance, the difference may seem small, but it changes everything. Most people spend their lives moving toward their desires. They chase success, pursue happiness, seek abundance, and strive for fulfillment. Their thoughts are always focused on getting somewhere they are not. Their attention remains fixed on the distance between where they are and where they want to be. As a result, they continually reinforce the feeling that their desire is separate from them. Living from the end is entirely different. Instead of thinking about what you want, you begin thinking from the position of already having it. Instead of viewing your desire as a future event, you accept it as a present reality within your consciousness. This shift moves you out of the state of longing and into the state of fulfillment. The goal is no longer something you are trying to reach. It becomes the foundation from which you live. Imagine a person who desires financial freedom. If they are living toward the end, their thoughts may sound like this: I hope I become successful one day. I wonder when my breakthrough will come. What if it never happens? Every thought reinforces the idea that success is somewhere in the future. But a person living from the end thinks differently. They ask, how would I think if I were already financially free? How would I feel? How would I carry myself? they begin to adopt the mindset of the fulfilled version of themselves. Their inner world changes first, and their outer experience eventually follows. The same principle applies to every area of life. A person seeking love often spends years searching, hoping, and worrying. Their focus remains on the absence of love. But when they live from the end, they begin to embody the emotional state of someone who is already loved and valued. They stop identifying with loneliness and start identifying with fulfillment. This change influences the way they think, speak, and interact with the world. Living from the end does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. Rather, it means allowing your actions to flow from a state of fulfillment instead of a state of lack. When you act from lack, your actions are often driven by fear, desperation, and uncertainty. When you act from fulfillment, your actions are guided by confidence, clarity, and trust. The difference may not always be visible to others, but it is powerful. One reason many people struggle with this concept is because they are conditioned to believe that circumstances create identity. They think they must achieve something before they can feel successful. They think they must receive love before they can feel worthy. They think they must become wealthy before they can feel abundant. Yet every lasting transformation begins with identity first. The outer world reflects the inner state, not the other way around. Consider an actor preparing for a role. Before stepping onto the stage, the actor immerses themselves in the character. They think like the character, feel like the character, and respond like the character. For a time, they become that person. In a similar way, living from the end requires you to step into the identity of the person you wish to be. You do not wait for reality to assign you the role. You accept the role internally first. This practice requires faith in the unseen. The world around you may still reflect old assumptions. Current circumstances may seem unchanged. Yet if you constantly react to appearances, you return to the old state. Living from the end means remaining loyal to your chosen identity regardless of temporary conditions. It means trusting the reality within more than the evidence without. Over time, something remarkable happens. The new state begins to feel natural. You no longer have to force yourself to think from the end because it becomes your default perspective. Your expectations change, your reactions change, your confidence grows. The fulfilled version of yourself stops feeling imaginary and starts feeling real. When this occurs, the bridge between imagination and experience begins to close. Opportunities emerge, new pathways appear, circumstances shift, events unfold in ways that often seem surprising, yet they are simply the natural expression of the state you have accepted as true. The secret is not to spend your life moving toward fulfillment. The secret is to begin from fulfillment. Live from the end, think from the end, and feel from the end. For when you consistently occupy the state of the person you wish to become, reality has a remarkable way of reshaping itself to reflect that state. One of the greatest challenges on the path to transformation is learning not to be controlled by appearances. Most people place complete faith in what they can see, hear, and touch. They allow current circumstances to determine what they believe is possible. If they see obstacles, they believe success is far away. If they experience delays, they assume failure is approaching. If conditions do not immediately reflect their desires, they become discouraged and abandon their assumptions. Yet this habit keeps them trapped in the same cycle, reacting to the visible world instead of shaping it. The truth is that appearances are often the result of past thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. What you see today may simply be the delayed reflection of a state you occupied yesterday. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, every assumption takes time to express itself in visible form. If you judge your future solely by your present circumstances, you may overlook the invisible changes already taking place beneath the surface. Consider a person who has planted a seed in the ground. For days or even weeks, there may be no visible evidence of growth. To the eye, nothing appears to be happening. Yet beneath the soil, an entire process is unfolding. Roots are forming, life is developing, and the foundation for future growth is being established. If the person became impatient and dug up the seed every day to check its progress, they would only disrupt the process. The wise farmer trusts what cannot yet be seen. The same principle applies to the assumptions you accept within yourself. Once you have chosen a new state and embraced the feeling of fulfillment, your responsibility is not to constantly seek proof. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to that state. The outer world may continue to display old conditions for a period of time, but these conditions do not have the power to determine your future unless you give them that power. Many people begin with enthusiasm. They imagine their desired outcome, feel inspired, and adopt a new assumption. But the moment reality presents a challenge, they lose confidence. An unexpected bill arrives, and they doubt their financial future. A setback occurs, and they question their success. A relationship problem appears, and they abandon their vision of harmony. In each case, appearances pull them back into their former state. What they fail to realize is that every transformation encounters a period when the old reality and the new assumption appear to conflict. During this period, it may seem as though nothing is changing. Yet this is often the very moment when persistence matters most. The person who remains loyal to the unseen reality eventually discovers that appearances begin to shift. The person who surrenders to appearances simply recreates the old pattern. Ignoring contradictory appearances does not mean denying facts or pretending challenges do not exist. It means refusing to let temporary circumstances define your identity or dictate your expectations. You can acknowledge a problem without accepting it as permanent. You can face a challenge without surrendering your vision. You can recognize current conditions while remaining committed to a greater reality. This requires discipline of the mind. Whenever appearances suggest limitation, you must return to your chosen state. Whenever doubt arises, you must remember the reality you have accepted within yourself. Whenever circumstances attempt to convince you that your desire is impossible, you must choose faith over fear. This is not blind optimism. It is the understanding that unseen causes always precede visible effects. History is filled with examples of individuals who succeeded because they refused to be governed by appearances. Long before their achievements became visible, they held a vision that others could not see. They trusted an inner conviction more than external evidence. While the world focused on present limitations, they focused on future possibilities. Their persistence eventually transformed what once seemed impossible into undeniable reality. The same power is available to you. Every time you refuse to react negatively to appearances, you strengthen your new state. Every time you choose confidence instead of doubt, you reinforce your assumption. Every time you remain faithful to your vision despite contradictory evidence, you move closer to its expression. Remember, appearances are not final. They are temporary snapshots of a process that is still unfolding. They do not possess ultimate authority unless you allow them to. The world around you is constantly changing, and what seems fixed today may look completely different tomorrow. Therefore, do not surrender your dream because of present conditions. Do not measure your future by what is visible at this moment. Hold firmly to the reality you have accepted within. Remain faithful to your chosen state. Trust the unseen process. For when you learn to ignore contradictory appearances and persist in your assumption, you discover that reality eventually conforms to the vision you refused to abandon. The final key to transformation is persistence. Many people become excited when they first discover the power of assumption. They feel inspired, motivated, and confident that change is possible. For a few days, they hold a new vision of themselves. They imagine their desires fulfilled and experience the emotions of success, abundance, or happiness. But when results do not appear immediately, their enthusiasm begins to fade. Doubt returns. Old habits resurface. Before long, they abandon the very state that could have transformed their lives. This is why persistence is so important. A single moment of belief can inspire you, but a sustained assumption is what changes reality. The state you consistently occupy becomes the foundation of your experience. What you return to again and again eventually hardens into fact. Persistence is not about forcing something to happen. It is about remaining faithful to the reality you have chosen within yourself until it becomes your dominant state of consciousness. Most people underestimate the power of consistency. They believe dramatic effort produces dramatic results. Yet life often responds more strongly to what is repeated than to what is intense. A small stream of water flowing continuously can carve through solid rock over time. In the same way, a persistent assumption gradually reshapes your perception, your reactions, your decisions, and ultimately your circumstances. When you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, something begins to happen beneath the surface. You may not notice it immediately. The outer world may appear unchanged. Yet internally you are changing. Your thoughts become aligned with your desire. Your expectations begin to shift. You stop identifying with limitation and start identifying with possibility. The fulfilled version of yourself becomes more familiar than the old version. As this transformation occurs, life begins to organize itself in unexpected ways. Events start unfolding that seem unrelated at first. A conversation takes place. An opportunity appears. A chance meeting occurs. An idea enters your mind. A door opens where there was once a wall. Looking back, these events often appear perfectly connected, as though an invisible hand guided each step. This sequence of natural events is often called the bridge of events. It is the pathway through which your assumption becomes a lived experience. The bridge is rarely something you can predict. In fact, it often unfolds in ways that are completely different from what you imagine. This is why trying to control every detail can become an obstacle. Your responsibility is not to design the bridge. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to the end result. Imagine standing on one side of a river. On the opposite side is the reality you desire. Most people become obsessed with figuring out every step required to reach the other side. They worry about the route, the timing, and the obstacles. Yet when you persist in the assumption that your wish is already fulfilled, life begins constructing the bridge for you. One plank at a time, circumstances align, opportunities emerge, and pathways reveal themselves. The challenge is that the bridge often appears ordinary while you are crossing it. You may not realize that a simple conversation is leading you toward your goal. You may not recognize that a temporary setback is redirecting you to something better. You may not understand why certain events are occurring. But persistence allows you to continue forward even when the purpose is not yet visible. This is where trust becomes essential. Persistence without trust becomes exhausting. Trust without persistence becomes passive. Together, they create a powerful combination. You trust that the process is unfolding, and you persist in your chosen state regardless of appearances. Day after day, you return to the feeling of fulfillment. Day after day, you refuse to surrender your assumption. Gradually, what once felt distant begins moving closer. One of the most remarkable aspects of persistence is that it changes you before it changes your circumstances. By the time your desire appears in physical form, you are no longer the same person who first imagined it. You have developed greater confidence, greater faith, greater emotional stability, and a deeper understanding of your own creative power. The journey itself transforms you into the person capable of sustaining the reality you desired. Therefore, do not become discouraged by delays. Do not abandon your assumption because results seem slow. Every day you remain faithful to your chosen state, you strengthen the bridge that leads to fulfillment. Every moment of persistence reinforces the reality you have accepted within yourself. Stay loyal to the end. Trust the process you cannot yet see. Allow life to unfold naturally. For persistence is not merely waiting, it is the unwavering decision to remain in the state of fulfillment until the world around you reflects what you have already accepted as true. And when that happens, you will realize that every step, every challenge, and every unexpected event was part of the bridge carrying you to your destination. As we come to the end of this message, remember one truth above all others: your life does not move in the direction of your wishes. It moves in the direction of your assumptions. The world you experience tomorrow is being shaped by the state you occupy today. If you continue to identify with lack, you will find more reasons to feel limited. But if you dare to assume that your desire is already fulfilled, you begin to step into a completely different reality. A reality where possibilities become opportunities, where obstacles become stepping stones, and where the unseen gradually becomes visible. You do not need to know how it will happen. You do not need to force the outcome. You do not need to convince anyone else. Your only responsibility is to remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Return to it again and again until it feels natural. Let it become your identity. Let it become the lens through which you view the world. Trust that every assumption accepted as true carries within itself the power of fulfillment. The life you desire is not somewhere in the distant future. It begins the moment you accept it within yourself. Assume it, feel it, live it, and watch reality respond. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this message inspired you, take a moment right now to reflect on the life you truly want to experience and begin assuming that it is already yours. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future messages designed to help you unlock your inner power and transform your reality. And if this message resonated with you, share in the comments. I already am who I wish to be. Thank you for watching, thank you for believing, and most importantly, thank you for investing in yourself. Until next time, continue living from the reality you choose to create.